Hear me now.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll call into order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. October 3rd at 5:15. We'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Ernst,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Rollins,
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Here. Okay, any changes to the agenda? We actually have one for sure. We're going to move the public requests, the public comments to after the Miller Lake presentation. And anybody else have any? Okay. So we'll do the approval of the minutes of the previous board meetings. The regular meeting held on September 19th at 5:15.
Move to approve.
Second.
Anything further? Roll call on that?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes. And then the approval of the minutes of the final trim compliance hearing held on September 19th at 6 p.m.
Approve.
Second.
Roll call on that?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to regular business. First thing on the agenda is the Explorium exhibit, the Leonardo's Lab.
Commissioners, on page 7 of your agenda packets is the agreement for Leonardo's Lab. This is the exhibit that would follow. Currently, Mindbender Mansion is on until December 31st, and then in spring, we have the Zoo and U exhibit. And then this would be fall of 2023 for Leonardo's Lab. So tonight, we're just looking for approval of this agreement. And any questions you have, I'm here to try and answer them.
Move to approve the contract. Second.
Nikki, roll call.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Okay, number 2.
Here.
Is the Ocean Breeze Master Plan presentation by Miller Lake. Okay. Or if you want to, we can.
Can we have the screen moved up just a bit?
Did you guys see?
I don't know if they can see. I don't know if the commissioner can see.
They said they-
They can't raise it up. You're okay? Okay. All right. Well, good evening. Thank you all for coming. It's good to see so many faces here. And we're happy to please to present our the master plan, the preliminary master plan for Ocean Breeze tonight. It's been a long time getting here and a lot of input from everyone. So we're pleased to present this. Kind of where we are in the timeline. We always kind of start with this to show where we started and how we got here. The last time we all kind of met was in our workshop back in June, July. And from that time, we put together a draft or a preliminary draft master plan. We've reviewed that with district. And we're here tonight to present the preliminary master plan. From this point on, we would anticipate that we would have the final master plan developed in November and final presentation by the end of the year. So this was the program that was presented to the district in May, I think, of this year, and was approved to be implemented as part of the Ocean Breeze Master Plan. It really focused around 5 different types of areas: passive type uses, social areas, a golf facility, golf-focused recreational amenities, indoor facilities, as well as active play areas. And from that, remember, we generated 5 conceptual plans, different alternatives that we all reviewed. And this is what we developed. This is the preliminary master plan at this point in time. So one of the things that we did was we tried to identify and create an identity for each of the quadrants. As you know, Ocean Breeze is kind of separated into 4 quadrants. 2nd Avenue bisects it north-south. Oh, I should do this. There it is. So 2nd Avenue bisects it north-south, and then Clintmore Road or Jeffrey Street bisects it on the east-west. So we have 4 distinct quadrants: the northwest, northeast, the southeast, and the southwest. And what we've done is we've actually named each of those quadrants. And the northwest quadrant is called the Links. And you'll see that's primarily focused on golf improvements and golf recreation. In the northeast, we called that the Hills. We named that the Hills. It has the most vertical topography on the site. So again, we thought that that was a very good nomenclature for that. The bottom here on the southeast is the trails. It's primarily focused on trail aspects in the ultimate master plan. And then on the southwest, we named this quadrant the Preserve. Okay. So we'll start quadrant by quadrant. This is the northwest quad, the Links. So this quadrant is primarily focused on golf. And this will have various facilities in it. First of all, we will be having a multi-purpose trail. And the real reason for this in a lot of trails, it really provides connectivity between all of the quadrants within Ocean Breeze, within the Ocean Breeze property. So there would be a multi-purpose trail that runs and bisects through this parcel. Just for a point of reference, this is Clintmore Road here and Jeffrey Street, and then 2nd Avenue right here. Okay, and kind of gives you a reference, a point where you are. In the Links, we would also have a clubhouse, driving range, and practice green, as well as a putting course, a short course, which is shown here, and also a 9-hole executive course that kind of spans into the southeast quad or southwest quad. And this, we're showing an executive course right now. It's approximately 2,500 yards in length. And we're just showing that for spatial analysis, just to show you that it does fit in this area. In addition to that, we will have a golf support facility located right here, and parking, obviously, for this. So Lumi, I'll let you take it for some specifics.
All right, so as Mike indicated, one of our main purposes is the connection between all of our quadrants. And that connection is key within the Links by a nice multi-purpose shared path with kind of a nature preserve within our golf course. Here you'll see our driving range, as well as the clubhouse, the parking, and the putting green, and the practice run as well. So what's key on this is that it's just a connection, and the location of it is located ideally next to I-95, away from most of the residential homes as well.
And if I could, I'll also add onto that, The putting course is about a little over an acre in size, so pretty significant in size to allow for a true recreational amenity.
All right, so here you'll see your 6 short course holes along with your 9 executive hole course, moving towards the southern quadrant, utilizing the existing tunnel. Okay, from here, we're gonna go over and explore the hills, which is our most topographic location. If you are familiar with the site, there's a nice bunch of hills out there as well. So we wanted to utilize this to the maximum. There's also a drainage easement along the site, and just we conserved that as well. We located our dog park on our furthest to the train tracks, further from the residents, community garden, playground, and there's restrooms on the north and on the south sides as well, along with parking. Here in these darker lines, you see are kind of what you would call hiking trails, mountain bikes. And all our paths are a primary shared path with some primable secondary paths. And over here, along the parking on the south side, it is a space allocated for a potential municipal support maintenance location. You could see here the dog park, the community garden, the playground, and the parking area just to facilitate these passive amenities.
And you can see on that, if you just go back, we're preserving, there's a swale through that area. We need to preserve that swale for drainage for the community to the north. So again, that's something that we're preserving in this design and reflecting and responding to that.
You would see here some of our intricate hiking trails. Now, these are perfect location because of the harsh topography that's around here. So you can take a nice hike in comparison to more of a leisure passive trail.
Those mountain bike hiking trails, those would be unimproved. Those would be more rustic, just kind of cleared areas that you could actually go through the topography, more of a rustic type of a trail on those.
And you see here our nice loop of trails in which you could do some exercise and count your miles for the day as well. And the restrooms just allocated perfectly along the parking. So if you were to start in the trailhead at the top or the bottom, you have a restroom nearby. Okay, we go into our trails. Our trails is mainly of trails as well as a playground, parking, restroom up on the top as well. So what's interesting about this quadrant is that there's only access on Jeffrey Street reality. You wouldn't have access on the southern. So it was key to make sure these trails looped around as well and wasn't too much of a distance. And for this quadrant, for the trails, we're incorporating our racket center with indoor pickleball / tennis, pickleball courts, padel courts, and tennis courts. Now, this is where opportunity for public-private partnerships come into play. And this is just to kind of have a framework of what could potentially go in this area, not necessarily the amount of tennis courts or pickleball courts. You could see it a little bit better here. So we would work, or the district would work directly with a private-public partnership if needed so, since the very initial to design this the best course for our residents. Okay, and now you have our lovely preserve, where our main focus is kind of a nature preserve, a lot of trails, and that's the main focus on this. Now, we will be activating this space closer to I-95 with, you have a playground, starting off with a central fitness area, So this is kind of an initial trend. You usually see the fitness trails all along the trails, but more and more, a centralized fitness area has been seen to better accommodate users. You'll have a splash pad as well, and then a lot of open green space. You could see some nice boardwalks, some nice water areas. And you'll see as well a potential for a field house with competition pool, practice pool, and an open field. Here you could see the splash pad, the playground, and then the centralized fitness area. So just keep in mind of this location and this parking lot. We'll further discuss it, why this is at the very beginning of it. Okay, and you could see some of the existing trails, some shelters along the way, additional parking just to go along, since it's a long quadrant to attend, and you see a closer look at some of the boardwalks.
And as Lumi was saying, if you go back just one slide, we extended the parking down further into the preserve just because of the distance it is from Clintmore Road into the middle of this site. In essence, it's almost like a half a mile if you were to park on the north and walk all the way to the south. So again, bringing that parking in to greater accessibility to this quadrant.
Okay, and you can see a closer look of a potential of a field house, some pools, and an open field.
So that's kind of the master plan. The next thing is how do we implement that master plan? Okay. So we have an initial budget that the district is earmarked for this project. The first phase of the project is the next couple of years, and we have $7 million allocated right now. And the next subsequent 2 years, another $5 million. In addition to that, we have another 3-year period. In 2026, another 5 million. And then in 2027 and 2028, about 3 million earmarked for that, for another 6 million. So that totals $28 million that the district has currently earmarked for the project. Now, what we did is, and Lumi kind of alluded to this, we were also asked by the district to make sure that we consider some of these improvements that could be done by public-private partnerships and other funding sources. So the 2 facilities that we looked at that you've seen that are going to be contemplated to be part of a public-private partnership would be the golf facilities as well as the racket center. And that would mean that the district would enter into a partnership with a concessionaire or an entity, a developer, that would actually potentially build these facilities and operate those facilities. So there's minimal exposure to the district for these. The other opportunity was the field house and aquatics facility. And we viewed that it's really, when we did the P3, the public-private partnership investigations and due diligence, we actually met with some folks that do that run and build and operate these golf and tennis and racket facilities. And they're very interested. They think these are viable opportunities for them to enter into a pursuit and do this with the district. The field house and the aquatic facility is a little less appealing to those types of developers. And so what we thought that this would be a partnership. This could be a potential partnership that the district would make with the city and or a private, a non-for-profit, something like a YMCA, a JCC, something of that nature, that could be a partnership with them so that the district, the city potentially, as well as the other partner could partner in the development of that, the operation and management of that facility. Okay. So what we're going to do is take you through the phases, how we see that this could potentially happen based upon the funding and such. So in phase 1, which is over the next 2 years, what we see is in the links and everything and here's an explanation of this. So we'll say this is right here is Clintmore Road coming into Jeffrey here and 2nd Avenue. Okay. So this is the links quadrant in total right here. And then this is the hills. And everything that you see that's colored in color green or any color outside of the gray is what would actually be constructed or anticipated to be constructed during this time frame. So in the links, we would say that we would see that this trail would be implemented, would actually come through and create that connectivity between this quadrant. We would also have that natural buffer area that Lumi was talking about that surrounds that multi-purpose path. And then we would anticipate that the P3 in that time frame would actually be able to start their construction activities and we anticipated that they could do the driving range, the putting facility, and the putting course, as well as potentially even the short course started at that time. In the hills area over here, majority of this project or this quadrant could actually be implemented. The south trailhead as well as the north trailhead, the dog park, the community garden, and majority of the trails, both the walking multi-purpose trails as well as the mountain bike and hiking trails. We also anticipate that this site could potentially be utilized as a municipal support and maintenance facility for the park and potentially, let's say, a fire station, police substation, something like that that could be used by the community. Now, this is the southern half. So this is Jeffrey Street and Clintmore, and this is Second. So this is the trails here, and then this is the preserve, okay? So in the trails area, we would have majority of the trails completed, as well as the buffers adjacent to the community, as well as we would start the process for the P3 on the Racket Center. We would start that process on there. In addition, over at the preserve, we would have this small activated park area that would include the parking, the restrooms, the playground splash pad, as well as the central fitness area, outdoor fitness area. And then we would have trails that would weave throughout about half of that parcel at this time. So you can see the parking is really just focused up here. The second portion of the parking that comes down here would be in the next phase. So looking at this, our preliminary opinion of probable construction cost for this first phase is about $16.6 million, okay? And that excludes, the P3 partnership. But this gives you everything that you see here in green is pretty much done. So you have active areas and an operating park in 4 of the 4 quadrants. So you have this park really starting to operate at this time. In phase 2, in the links, the golf course facilities would be completed. And in the hills, we would finalize all the trails within there. In the trails portion, we would now have the parking completed, the restrooms installed, as well as the playground. We would also finish up the trails. And also we would anticipate this would be a time frame that the P3 racket facility could potentially be done. And finally, in the preserve, we would finalize or finish up and extend the parking down along I-95 and into the preserve area, finalize the trails down into the central core of the preserve, as well as the boardwalks that would span and go over and into the water bodies. The opinion of probable cost, construction cost for phase 2 is about $8.5 million for that. Okay. So we are going to open it to questions from the commission. And just want to remind everybody that this presentation will be posted on the website. You can review that there and obviously have questions and things like that to the district. So that we'll conclude there, and thank you all. And again, open it to your questions and go from there. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners. Questions, comments?
Mike, on the southwest side, closest to Second Avenue, what did you anticipate for that area? Where you, it looks like you have some golf course area there.
So let's see, which area?
Right there.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, that's shown graphically right now as a potential for golf to extend down into that area if necessary to allow for the executive course.
And what about a learning center?
A learning center would be integrated up in that south, or I'm sorry, the northwest quadrant. And with this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First, I want to thank the people in the audience for being here tonight. Your input is vital to us. We need to know what's on your minds and what suggestions you might have. But for myself, the first issue I see is the short course. And if it was up to me, I don't have a problem with it. I think there's a place for it. But the city of Boca Raton, if I'm not mistaken, over the next couple of years, will be investing something between 25 and $30 million in their 18-hole course over at Boca Country Club. And if I'm sitting in their shoes, I don't want any competition. So based on prior history, I think they will see this as competition. And since we don't own this property outright, maybe we might think of dedicating a learning center on this property and have a dedicated golf academy, maybe in cooperation with FAU and Lynn University. But I don't want to start tangling with the city and have this thing drawn out any more than it should be.
Madam Chair, did you and Breanne meet with the Parks and Rec people recently at a board meeting?
We did, yes.
And what was their reaction? Did you go over this plan with them or any details that might have given them an idea of what we're planning?
We did, and they gave us a really good thumbs up, and so did the Sustainability Committee. We met with them as well. We're trying to meet with all the different committees to get their feedback so that when we go to city council with this, we have the fact that we've spoken to all the representatives that have been elected to the city boards. And we've gotten really good feedback and specific to whatever committee they're on. So the Sustainability Committee gave us a lot of feedback on any green aspects of the park that we can do and the stormwater, things like that. But they really liked the master plan so far.
And Mike, I'll ask you this question. I know part of the original agreement that we had with you was that you would speak with each of the city council members. And I did not get any negative feedback from you when after you've had those conversations. Do you recall what kind of feedback you got when you did talk to the city council?
Yes, we did. We met with all the city, the council members. And there was no negative feedback. They said they wouldn't want a golf course, a full-size golf course here, but a short course or executive training course that wouldn't compete with a championship level course. They were not adverse to. And again, I think Commissioner Engel is points taken that they don't want something that they want to have to compete with. And they don't view this as something that would compete with their course.
Did they give you any specifics on on the presence of a short course? Did they tell you yay or nay? Or did they just say, well, if it doesn't, if it doesn't conflict with anything else, it's okay by us? Did they give you a more specific answer or a kind of vague answer?
Oh, again, it was as we were developing the plan. So again, they didn't, no, it wasn't, I would say it wasn't specific because each of them have a different varying level of interest or knowledge of it.
Madam Chair, just one additional question. When we were talking about the different phases, Mike, you know, in the phase one with the where the driving range and the golf short courses, that component as well as the other where the racket center was on the southeast corner. These were areas that you thought that would be of interest to someone who might want to come in and participate in the development to cost of that and then run those facilities, which would enable us to use somebody else's capital and use our land. And was kind of the concept. And you said you had some interested partnerships that might be explored with that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We actually one of them, we met on site, just, they were so interested. They wanted us to actually see the site, and we walked out here and said, oh, this is perfect. You know, they were ready to start building. So again, the locale and the location and the availability of the land was very interesting to them. So again, it comes down, just like anything else, the devil's in the details of what the agreement is, but it's very appealing to them from the area that they would service and what they could provide and the space that is potentially available for them to provide that service.
Thanks. Did your timeline include the permitting process for this project?
Yes, and again, realizing that most of the improvements that the district is proposing on here are very minor from a infrastructure perspective, a construction perspective. The trails, the buildings are very minimal. So again, the permitting that we anticipated will be connection, no major utility or infrastructure extensions would be necessary. We're just going to have small restrooms and those types of things in these first two phases. So again, yes, it did contemplate the design time and permit.
And it looked like it was obvious treatment of the trails where it ran adjacent to the golf to protect the walkers from any of Susie's golf balls.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, our layout of the golf course, we work with Troon, our consultant, to lay that out. But again, that would be open to the P3 team to develop a design that would meet our needs as a community, but also adhere to our concerns about, you know, protection of that trail and those types of things. So their design would have to reflect and respond to those issues.
Just one final question, Madam Chair, is that we had talked also about grants in initial phases. Do you see any opportunities there for grants that could help us with the build out?
Yeah, I think there are grants. Every grant cycle is a little bit different. But again, restoration and renovation of golf courses, taking them out of that and really reducing some of the water demands of golf courses. Some of the agencies and grant agencies are very receptive to that. So again, I think that there will be opportunities for those types of grants.
Thank you, Mike. I know this is a conceptual thing at this point. You know, nothing is set in stone, but we've gotten closer to what I think probably the public would require or would desire, and maybe with one or two changes, you know, we might be able to meet that targeted deadline for getting a master plan, you know, decided. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I'm maybe getting ahead of myself here, but has consideration been given to ADA requirements for the paths and, you know, hiking trails and so on?
Yes, and again, it's very preliminary. What we try to do is lay out the primary paths in areas that were flatter. And then we have primary and secondary paths. Those secondary paths are up and down the hills a little bit more. So again, realizing those primary paths would be accessible paths and accessible throughout the area. And we're in total almost 8 miles of trails that you would not have to duplicate anything in this park. So that would be great. So again, there would be, majority of those would be accessible trails.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I've had the opportunity to visit 2 facilities that the municipalities were just in a quandary. So they got a 501c3 to take care of the planning, the development, and the funding. And so that's always a possibility. And Steve, I'd also like to remind everybody that when the Boca Muni closed, we lost an executive course, a short course that was good for learning. It was good for people who didn't have a lot of time to golf. And it was good for people like me who, maybe needed a shorter course that wasn't as challenging as the one that is now the Boca Racket Club. So we're going to complement with whatever we do over at our property rather than compete. And I think the city remembers that.
If I might, I'm not at all opposed to having a short course or an executive course. I agree with you. I think there's a need for it. But there was also a need for what was at one time called Boca National when we first embarked on this project, because Boca Muni was closing and there wasn't going to be a municipal golf course. And what started out as cooperation from the city ended up in a pitched battle. And that was because, unbeknownst to us, they already had other plans. My concern is, do we have the same situation here? I agree with you. It's not, for me, not an issue of, is it needed or is it not? But I don't want to have to get into World War III.5 with city council over things because they're not transparent, or they have another agenda, or they feel it's in competition. I want them to let us know, we feel this is competing with us, or no, this is fine. We don't see it as competition, in which case, full steam ahead. I just, I want to avoid the acrimony that we had before if we can, but by the same token, the city needs to be totally transparent with us as to what their plans are. And given the investment they're making, my understanding is it's anywhere between $25 and $30 million over the next couple of years. They may see our plans as competition with theirs, even though I agree with you, it's not really. But that's something I think we have to take into consideration, and we have to have a plan B. So my plan B was, in my mind, dedicate that area as a golf training academy in coordination with FAU and Lynn. But to reiterate, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I think there's a need for it. I just don't want to have to play games with the city on it.
No, and that's why we're trying to set up a joint meeting with them too, as well, so that we can actually have conversations with them with whatever plan we come up with. And Jacob also mentioned something else about the amended ILA.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could just to add to the conversation, you may recall that the district in April of 21 entered into an amended and restated interlocal agreement with the city, which governs this property in its entirety. That did shift in certain ways the options with regards to the future development. But just to be clear, the current agreement with the city does contemplate the development of recreational and related facilities, which may include golf facilities. So golf is still specifically contemplated under our current agreement with the city.
Do you have anything?
Sure. Well, Michael, I went back to your, the survey, and in there you had 1,220 surveys, and roughly half were online, statistically valid, and the other half roughly were open. And out of that survey, the community across the board put number one as fitness trails, bike paths, playground was number three. You know, what were these are the things they wanted. Pretty down the list, golf was kind of a number 6, driving range number 10. But this is the survey that was done. And to be honest with you, I think you've accomplished everything that you said and you were put forth to do. So I thought it was pretty good. The one area I guess I kind of like to highlight is the pool area. I think it's more important than not, particularly with it goes well with all components of recreation. I know that most municipalities don't like running pools because they're expensive. I, as a finance person, don't like having my pool in my house, but nevertheless, I have it. And I think it's a great thing to have. And it's an amenity that's important. And I hope that we can keep that in the play of things. As far as the golf goes, I think it's a component we said we were going to do or offer it, but it's a further discussion, you know, so it's a matter of the public-private partnership. The other component I wanted to remind everyone in the survey that was fairly important to me was we had a question in there basically said, how are we going to pay for this? And it was, you know, pretty resounding. The community is looking for public-private partnership, things that can stand on its own, things that can do more on their own. And they're not too interested in tax dollars paying for a golf course. We found that out the first time we went through it. So having a blended component of many things here, to me, hits the mark, you know? And so I think the next step is, it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close to perfect. It's got a lot of nice components to it. It meets everything that's in here. I think we need a little bit more information on the city side, as far as, you know, their current golf course, how profitable is it? What are their plans? I don't know if they're planning to split it into a bunch of short courses, but we have to do whatever it is in conjunction with them. And so I think you laid out a really good plan. So thank you very, very much for what you've done. And, you know, I hope we can kind of take it the next step and make it a reality.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to public requests now. Public comment. It's going to be 5 minutes. And keep in mind, this is not a question and answer session back and forth with Miller Lake. If you have questions, great. Comments, they will be noted by Miller Lake, and any questions that staff can answer tonight, we will do that, but it is not a back and forth with Miller Lake. If you want to come up to the microphone right there. Yes, and please state your name and address, please.
I'm gonna do what everybody else did. It works. Larry Milkey, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue, condo 413. I'm concerned about the hills. What's the scheduling for this park? Like, when's it open? When's it closed? If you look at the condos, 6,000, 61, 62, 63, that's all open space. You can walk in between. People are going to be walking into the park at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and just walking their dogs and doing whatever they want to do. Number one. Number two, is there a buffer between the park and my condo? Or is everything going to be right outside my lanai? Okay, that's the scheduling. And this is all very nice. Has anybody ever decided or looked that Northwest Second Avenue is 2 lanes? And that just about 2 cars fit on them. Where are these people coming from? Where are they parking? Second Avenue isn't Yamada, it's not Federal. It's 2 lanes. We have the kids in the morning with the school buses out there trying to get to school. People going to work. There's got to be 3,000 homes there. And now we're bringing in another ton of people into the neighborhood. It just doesn't make any sense. And I hope you kind of get on board with me a little bit. And also, I saw phase 1, phase 2. I got phase 3. Leave it the way it was. Just keep cutting the grass, because this is way, way too much work. and security, bathrooms, who's coming back at night to close the bathrooms? Or are we gonna have the homeless or whatever sleeping in the bathrooms in the backyard? So no one talked about security. I go down to Red Reef, they got the gates that go over, all the stuff. Doesn't look like there's an ounce of security here. That people will be in and out walking through. I'm not gonna park all the way down at the other end to go to the hills. I'm gonna park in the Boca Chica 6,200 parking lot. I'm gonna walk in between the two buildings. And I'm gonna pick up the walkway there. So that's my position. And I don't think it's on spot or perfect by no means. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Lisa Silva. I'm a resident of 1111 Southwest Pepperidge Terrace, and I'm here today to thank you for your hard work on this and just to voice my support and state in favor of some of your comments about a pool facility. You know, we rank as one of the consistently best beach towns, and we're very water oriented. I have a 7-year-old who swims on the Boca Mantas, and I think pool safety and pools are very important for our city and for our families. We have a lot of people who use those pools. There's always a waiting list for lessons and to be on the team. And as a city of our size, we don't have any state-of-the-art pool right now. I think we need it, and I'm here to just voice my support for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Winfield,
We can't
5280.
hear you. You have to move the mic a little bit down.
This way. 5280 Northwest Second Avenue. Mary Ann Winfield. I applaud what Miller Lake has done to try to make this a park setting and provide all the options for, thank you, for the trails, trying to keep it as an open park area. Security, of course, would be an issue. I just wondered, is there any component for art or displays of some cultural art installations? Some parks do that, and I think would add a little more to for the opportunity for people to come and look at something along those lines. So that's my comment. I'm also with the Smart Growth Partnership and Sustainability. I think you've included it. So thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Sparling. I live at 6025 Glendale Drive. I've lived in Boca Raton since 1964. I happen to be the head coach for the Boca Mantas, which is the city's swim team. I am here and definitely in favor of this pool that you're considering building. The pool that we currently use was built in 1975. It has been refurbished over the years, but they can't make it any deeper. So the pool is not a competitive pool. We can only use 4 lanes where we can actually dive into the pool. So other teams from other cities, when we have competition, they don't want to come to our pool because we have to start in the water, which for a city that is so amazing, why are we starting in the water? Why do we look like we're from the 1920s? It's time to have a nice pool. We can't use any type of electronic timing system in the pool that we use currently because of the way the pool is built. It's not something that you can retrofit. I'm also a swim coach for St. John Paul High School. I think that the facilities that we're building need to be accessible to all the middle schools and the high schools. These are the kids that are growing up in our community. They all need to learn how to swim. They should have the opportunity to be on a swim team. There isn't pool space available for some of the middle schools, so they don't get to have middle school swim teams, which is really sad. Like I said, I coach for St. John Paul. We don't have a pool, so we're really lucky that Meadows Park Pool will lend us 4 lanes. But if you wanted to have diving also, it takes those 4 lanes away. So we have 2 amazing diving boards at Meadows, but we can't use them because it takes away half the pool to move the lane ropes. So now you're swimming in lanes that you can't dive in for divers. I think you need to think about water polo. That's a really big sport right now. We don't have any place where we can do that. What else? Another thing that I wanted to talk about, when you consider building these things, I think you should consider shade or have some kind of stuff like that. I actually have a child with albinism, and that means she's an albino, which is like 1 in 17,000. I actually have 3 students on my swim team that actually have the same condition. So we need to have things for them to provide shade. My kid, we used to have to go to Broward County because we didn't have parks that were covered with any kind of shade when she was little. So I think now is the time to start thinking about those kind of things. I mean, we live here. I think we have to think ahead. This isn't going to help my child, but my parents walked around when we bought those beaches, you know, when I was a little kid, convincing my grandparents that this is what you need to do. We want to have those beaches. My parents knocked on the doors and said, you know, please vote for this. So I'm here saying I'll knock on the doors. It may not help me, but it's going to help somebody 50 years from now or 20 years from now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Harold Chaffee. I live at 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. I'm the president of Keep Golf in Boca. There's a couple of questions I have to ask. The 3 corners that are on like Second Avenue and Jeffrey Street, there's nothing on it, just green. Is that for future use?
Possibly. We have
Well, it
nothing
must be
planned.
if there's nothing's on it.
It's not part of the master plan right now, so it's designated as green space temporarily until if and when something comes about that we feel like we need in that space.
Okay. The other thing too is that with the, I guess you call it the hills, I probably call it the moguls. You have a picture there nice and green, but I doubt if it's going to be green if you're going to have bicycles riding over there. And what type of bicycles? Just regular bicycles are going to ride, or are you going to have kids with those Hot Wheel bikes, or what do they call them? Whatever they call them, I don't remember the names. Like the dirt bikes, you know, where the kids have, where
No,
they swoop up in the air and they come down and stuff.
no, it's not
No, it's gonna
motor.
be passive?
It's not motorbikes. It's.
No, not motorbike, but regular bikes. BMX, yeah, thank you.
Mountain bikes.
Mountain bikes, is that what it's
Mountain
gonna-
biking, that's in the area that's kind of tucked away in the tree area. So it'd be tight, it's tight knit trails.
But that's what it's
um,
gonna be used for.
That and hiking as well. They can be dual use trails. And then the multi-use trails are the ones that are closer to the condos, not close, but closer. And those are multi-use, more concrete, like 8-foot paths that are multi-use in terms of walking, more leisurely biking, things like
Okay.
that, running.
The other thing too is on the northeast, let's see, the northeast corner. I noticed a lot of gray, no green. Does that just to show the green better? Or is there gonna be nothing there? You see the gray areas?
The northeast.
The northeast corner, the one behind 62, 61, yeah, up there, right? Why is that
Those are
gray
just,
area?
that was for the phases. So phase 1 would be the green that's highlighted right now.
But what is
and
that going to be? The gray area?
Those are just going to be continued trails that we can't afford in the first phase, but we
Oh, okay.
will
I'm
finish in the
I'm
second
not sure.
phase.
Look, I'm open to surprises all the time. I just know what surprises, you
No,
know?
there's no buildings there.
Yeah, the other thing too is if you're gonna do the golf course, you should do the 9 holes also.
Well,
Because
so
you
the-
need income. They bring income. Driving range is great.
The golf course is a placeholder for what can possibly go there. Keep that in mind. So once a P3 does come on board, then the design will be done once a P3 does come on board. So keep in mind, this is not exactly what will
Okay.
be here, but it is designated as a golf
So
area.
it's come a long ways. I'm very happy. You know, it looks a lot different than we first saw it. You know, I'm very happy with it. I don't know how you're gonna work out the P3 with your charter.
So that's a work on once we get the master plan finalized and with Miller Legg and our attorneys to see how the P3 will work and how we can get it to work.
Okay, I'm not objecting to it, really not. I just know that there's going to be complications. And the other thing too is you're talking about the city not approving. What they don't approve? A building permit? What could they approve? This has all been a golf course. So if you're going to build a golf course, how could they approve? All you're going to do is renovate it, make it a little better, make a couple of changes. So it's not a rezoning situation. You know, it's personalities. What is it?
We
Or
just
you're
have to
just
get the
afraid-
go ahead from the
But
city.
you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That You're not going to change anything, you know?
And
Not
that's
that-
why we're going to the committees and we're talking to the people who are elected, to those not elected, but
I understand that,
appointed.
but as far as you're concerned, it's your piece of property was a golf course. All you do is put a golf course back on it. It's not like rezoning it from an industrial area over to a golf course,
Mhm.
you know? Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Emerson Silveira. I live at 5831 Fox Hollow Drive. I've been in Boca for 8 years. My son is Mateus. We moved from New York City. He goes to Verde. I want to thank you guys for an amazing school district that Boca is. And because of it, more and more people are moving to Boca because of the great schools. He goes to Verde. Amazing job with Verde, renovating, not renovating, building the whole thing. Because of it, he goes to Mentas. He's part of the team with Coach Michelle. Amazing job she's doing. All we need, besides the great schools we have, great golf courses we have, great, I live right behind the racket club, amazing tennis courts. All we need is a great pool. One is in Stewart, not fair. We don't need to travel that far. Boca deserves an amazing pool. And thank you again, guys, for an amazing job on the school district. Thanks.
But he goes,
And good evening. And my name is Wayne Whitfield. I'm a resident at 5620 Northwest 3rd Terrace in Boca Chica. First, want to say thank you very much for everyone's involvement, participation, planning. I know it's been a lot, so just thank you very much. Appreciate all that you all have done on your side, Miller Lake, you guys as well, and all the residents is giving their feedback as well. Overall, I think it's by far much better than when we first started out with all the amenities and what have you. So I think we've made a lot of progress. I think we do need a few more little tweaks, but those are more formalities. But just some of my feedback, safety is definitely one of my concerns. One of the residences in the past meetings mentioned a substation, police station. That would be probably ideal, probably at the end of Jeffries, closer to Dixie, right there in that area. And obviously speed control is important as well. As far as some of the aesthetics, because I'm right in the middle of it, and obviously aesthetics is important to me, a buffer as well, but I don't want my view blocked with a bunch of trees right there in front of me. Some open water space adjoining some of the river, the water features would be ideal. And thank you. But leading into the tree canopy, I think is super important. I think we have a great opportunity to just really cover the place with a bunch of trees, but earlier than waiting later for the phases. If there's a way to incorporate, the planting of the trees in strategic places, or at least a majority of them, I think that would be beneficial, because obviously it takes time for these trees to grow. So, and that's about all I have. But again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Phelps, and I live in the Sand Advance project, which is flanking the entire pretty much north end of this project. And my largest concerns are lighting, because you have placed a very large driving range right in my backyard. I'm curious about the additional noise that comes from the I-95, because it's deafening in that area that you've planned the range. And if you plan to build any sound barriers for this nice tranquil area, because we have a tremendous amount of noise that crosses over this entire parkway. Your entire square parkway has a tremendous amount of noise from I-95. And as you get closer to where you have the facility and the parking, it's deafening, right where the new bridge is coming in. And speaking of the new bridge is going to bring a lot of traffic back into our residential area. And you've got drawn, which I suspected all along, and the transparency wasn't there, but you've drawn in a stretch that goes from 2nd Avenue to Dixie Highway. That is going to make that little shortcut down Clintmore Road, which the people speed as high as 60 miles an hour, and they come in hot into our neighborhood to that light. And then for them to be able to continue on to Dixie Highway, this is going to be a very big hotspot for car accidents. Right now, at Second Avenue and Yamato, we have one of the largest accident corners in Boca Raton. I'm sure everybody can agree here on this. And my concerns is the amount of new traffic. We're going to get new traffic back into the neighborhood because of the new bridge being finished. But we are attracting even more accidents, more traffic, more shortcuts, more speeders coming right through this residential area. And although you don't show it, on the opposite lower south side of Clintmore Road is another flank half a mile of condominiums. This is, like my predecessor said, he said it's a 2-lane. Now that 2-lane is only 35 miles an hour, and it's going to make people speed through there and speed fast. We've enjoyed quite a break from the speeders during the bridge building. So I really fear your idea to make yourselves another sweet little shortcut right through our neighborhood into Dixie Highway. And I'm really disturbed that there's not an 18-hole golf course here. I've watched how we've sold our golf course out west, which was not in the Boca Raton city limits, and made a very pretty penny off of that. You bought this land here for quite a cheap amount for the amount of land that you gathered. And then you strung us along for 4 years now, from the times of Tom Fazio Jr. to now, where you say that 18-hole golf to 18-hole is competition for a golf course that is not even in the city of Boca Raton. And we do have a 9-hole. And if you do a little bit of homework on the 9-hole that's at Red Reef, they do not even book their amount of tee times that they currently have. They don't have enough people coming there to book that 9-hole and play that executive course. It's a beautiful course to walk and play 9 holes. Anybody should play there if they want to play 9 holes in Boca Raton. So I'm really saddened that there is not an 18-hole golf course here on this property. This is the original vision of many of my neighbors who can't be tonight, and to all these meetings that we've had over 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of responses real quick. The road that goes to Dixie Highway from Second Avenue is actually not ours. That is an easement that belongs to the city, and that is up to them whether they open that road or not. We do have to plan for it because it goes right through our property. And of course, we would prefer that not be open as well. But again, that belongs to the city. And the golf course that was sold out west, that was not ours. We did not sell that. That was the city who profited off of that golf course. That's the city who got that golf course gifted to them. That had nothing to do with us. So again, that is not us. That is the city of Boca Raton. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Frank Januzzi. I'm a homeowner and I represent the board of directors from Sandavance Golf and Tennis. You have to start these meetings a little bit later. We all work. I got here just when Mike from Miller Leg was closing. So I don't have a lot of questions other than the fact that I was here for the last meeting and everybody voted with the little colored stickers, and the majority was a 9-hole par 3 golf course. The gentleman on the second to the right, we did vote for golf. This seems to be a political football that's just going to get kicked down the road a long, long way. Not being here for the beginning of the presentation, not knowing timelines, budgets, voting, principles and best practices. My biggest concern I'm going to echo We live right on the edge of this course or whatever this multi-facility is going to be. Security, security, security. 95 is very loud. We're going to develop something. Hopefully some resources will go into additional soundproofing. I remember $5 million funded, no additional taxpayers cost locally. We'll see what happens. Thank you very much. I look forward to participating in more meetings. Hopefully they could start a little bit later so more people could be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Carrie DeRogatis. I live at 1270 Northwest 4th Street. I was born and raised here since 1975, homeowner. And I feel as though for this kind of money that the city of Boca Raton needs to seriously think about being innovative. I love all of our parks. I love all of our gardens. I think every city should have multiple gardens and paths and all this. I think that the Learning Center is a genius idea, and I don't even play golf. What I do know is that we have been wanting a state-of-the-art pool for years. We cannot host meets. Well, we do host meets at our pool, but only 2 or 3 teams will show up. So we're unable to really make any money off of those. We might make a few $100s a couple times a year. And that's pretty shameful when you travel to other cities, other counties, and participate in their champs, where you've got 20 teams. They have electronic boards, they have deep lanes for diving, there is sufficient shade, sufficient deck space. So that's another thing that I would hope that we would consider in the future when we do go to build a competition pool, that we take in all the details into consideration. Restrooms, parking, just as we have worked on attracting people for the FAU sports. I think we would have the same opportunity here with the new Clintmore Bridge being opened to attract people from other counties to host these meets. So I know I speak on behalf of our team and hundreds of other parents who try to get their kids on the team, but we can only fit up to 100 because of the size pool that we have. I just ask that you take that into serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angelo Sands. I live in that area. First of all, it looks like 7 years of attending these meetings, 7 years that it's getting closer. You know, as they say, you can see the light. The one thing, a couple questions. One is, you know, when the Boca Muni was sold, it was sold for $65 million, right? Was that the number? Is that right? 67. Excuse me, I'm wrong. $67 million. Somehow I never hear that number being used in funding this. You know, a long time ago, I used to run a city, and building a tennis court, a park, a swimming pool, golf course, easiest thing in the world. Maintaining it is your biggest job, without a doubt. And if you can't maintain it, I'm not thinking of what's going to be up here 1, 2, 3, 5 years from now, or 20 years. I mean, I'll be 95 there. I guarantee you, I probably won't be on a golf course. Okay, but maybe. But I think it's so important that the assets you have there that can be used to generate revenue, not profit, because I understand the rule. Okay, but there's no reason why an executive course, a well-run practice facility, and a short course can't generate profits to really maintain about everything up there, if done right. You know, I just read, you know, you know, I don't know if, maybe we ought to have a moment of silence for Southwest Florida. Would that be okay? Would that be okay? Okay, I guess not.
Why don't we do it at the end? And you
That'd be,
continue
okay, that's an
your-
idea. Okay, okay. One thing about golfers, we're used to user fees. I mean, we don't expect to do anything for free. When we go to a practice facility, a short course, whatever. And again, you know, and they will verify that at our private, not private, but at our meeting, that short meeting about golf courses, the golf course, Boca, what do you call it, and racket and all these things, right? Okay, that what we're doing is in no competition, none, okay? And that's by the city. So, you know, that's out the window. The other thing too is I have a problem when you look at surveys, especially asking as far as funding. You know, we're all going to be voting pretty soon. And I guarantee you, there won't be a resolution that we'll be voting for that will say, your taxes will go up if we do that, and you're going to vote yes. Soon as you say your taxes are going to go up, you can guarantee you got no vote coming. So the wording of those resolutions have to be such that you don't hear increase in taxes. Because in any survey, any kind of survey, they can be reliable. Okay, they can be reliable based on numbers. But as far as the survey being valid, then it meets another test. And that test is if the whole thing, you're saying two things. We have to raise your taxes if you want a swimming pool. What do you think? We're going to raise your taxes if you want a golf course. Same thing, okay? And so that's kind of a twofold, you know, double-edged sword, as opposed to, is this important for the community? Okay, so like I said, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we don't mind paying our share at that end of and we hope that if run properly, that corner should pay for almost everything else, okay? And I want to thank our neighborhood. The people who live in this area over the last 7 years, we've called upon them to attend these meetings. And for 7 years, they have come out. Right, Harold? They have been out. They have been out, especially the one with all the dots, okay? That was our proudest moment. So thank you very much for all you've done. Thank everyone out there for all you've done. And let's just hope that this can be maintained in a way that 20 years from now, it will look as nice as it looks when the day is opened.
Thank you.
Jack McWalter, 1100 Northeast, Second Terrace. Been here about 45 years. You were wrong. You said 7 years. That's not true. I was in that meeting when we had a former mayor 8 years ago that said that when they sold Boca Muni for $68 million, there'd be a golf course here. Okay. This is 8 years later. And I look up at these phases. I am shocked. Phase 2 means 2028, we're going to see probably the full course over there. I mean, I'm looking at these kids over here. They're going to be adults by the time this course is finished. This is a joke. And I don't mean to, it's not your issue. I mean, I'm not picking on you. Thank you for your service. I think you're a great group of people. You work hard. You're not getting paid you're not, for all the effort that you're putting in. But I am just disappointed when I look at this. This is an ultimate wish list. Pools. The city won't even maintain a pool. They're going to fill it with dirt because it's too expensive. It's great if we build a pool. But what I want and what this community wants is a functioning 9-hole executive course immediately, not 2028. It can be done all in phase 1 for a very small amount of dollars. You could put it like a construction trailer where you collect the dollars, et cetera, et cetera. This could be functioning within 24 months, not 6 years. I mean, think about it. These kids are all going to be adults. They're going to have their own kids. My kids learn how to golf on this course. Now I want my grandkids to learn how to golf on this course. And they won't be able to because they'll be adults by the time this thing is finished. We have, I don't mean to preach, but we have this huge influx of people into Boca Raton and into the neighborhood with kids. Our schools are doubling in size. The demand to teach kids how to golf is skyrocketing. And here we have to wait another 6 years for it. So anyway, I think I'm making my point that I'm disappointed in the phases. Having a functioning golf course out there as immediately, as fast as possible, I think is important. Let me look at my notes here, bear with me. We're about to go into a deep recession. Those numbers up there are ridiculous. You can double them, maybe triple them before we're through. The training center is absolutely important. It can be done with a bare minimum with the construction trailer type deal. That's about it. I think you got this. I think you got my function. Thank you very much for your service and thank you. But my point is, let's get something done immediately. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Hey, my name is Joel Rasko at 485 Northwest 69th Street in Boca Raton. I do echo what Jack said completely about getting it for the kids sooner than later. But I just wanted to say this has been daunting for you guys. I know everyone, and thank you so much for the work you are doing for this. But I think this design for youth, you know, the old executive course was like 1,900 yards, 30,000 rounds. They're going to Lakeview, Boca Dunes. This will bring those rounds back to city for revenue as well. But I think something like this would be really good for the youth, seniors, everyone. So thank you very much and good job, everyone.
Thanks, Joel.
Hi, guys. Greg Galanis, 1780 Southwest 22nd Ave. It's great to have so much input and feedback, right? As you know, I've been in the trenches with you guys for over 4 years, and I believe in you guys. But at the same time, you guys have a fiduciary responsibility. You're elected to get things done, and time is up. We're spending $1.5 million in debt service alone on this property on an annual basis, almost $7 million to date, and we haven't cut the lawn yet. There's a lot of components in here. There's a lot of things that make sense. Appreciate the effort to get to where we are. The golf course alone can fund the other components. It's a lot of misinformation that has been discussed here tonight, and I hope you guys understand that. It related to capacity, competition. Nothing on this display here is competing with the city. There's no conflict at all. I'm pissed that was even brought up as an issue because it's not. Okay, find a way or make one. Get with the city council, have one-on-one meetings. Time's up, guys. We need to move forward and get this thing done. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Hello, Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest Third Terrace. I think that I certainly sympathize with Mr. Engel there. I have attended all of the joint meetings. I never heard where we remotely were going to get any approval from the city. So if something's changed, that's good. But if it hasn't, I strongly suggest you have a plan B so that we don't have to wait another year to get to where we are now. Also, at the last couple of joint meetings, the city sounded like they were interested at that point in giving you maybe $10 million. So we may not have to have phases, as Jack pointed out, over 6 or 7 years. So I think that's $10 million out of 67 million. I think that's something that definitely should be brought up to the city to keep that money in the recreation.
I think I brought that up. They said no.
Well, at the time, they were just so anti-golf. They just said no. And unfortunately for you, the people who don't know it, I mean, the board here was kind of sandbagged by the whole Boca golf course. So you have to realize this board did not get $67 million for selling the other golf course. And this board wasn't even aware of that while they were spending thousands of dollars for architects. If they would have known that, obviously things could have changed. So I certainly sympathize with the board here with your past lack of success with dealing with the city. But at any rate, there is an election coming up. So that's something to keep in mind. I do have a problem though with the parking and the traffic on this northwest area by the driving range. That's a pretty steep hill coming down. And for people to be actually able to get in there and then be able to get out, you'd have to go over the bridge, make a U-turn and come back around. So I think that the only thing that I see on this particular schematic is the parking and the driveway going into that area there. I'm not for sure if that's sufficient parking, but of course the city has all kinds of regulations on parking. But again, thank you for your help and let's get this done. Let's ask the city for some reasonable amount of money. 10 million sounds pretty easy to me out of 67. And if they don't want to have golf course, it's up to them. Obviously, they have to approve it. So let's get a plan B just in case. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have some online comments. Yes. Dottie, unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you.
Hi,
Thank you. Okay, so again, my name is Dottie Provenzano and I live at 5961 Northwest Second Avenue. I actually wanted to attend this meeting in person, but had a little conflict, but I'm glad I can participate, through this process. First of all, and I'm sorry to be a little negative, but going through this for 7 or 8 years or whatever it is, very disappointed in the city council and all their promises and the money they've made on this and how stingy they've been. But yet a golf course just falls in their laps. Sounds a little Italian to me coming from a full Sicilian on this end. But anyway, they're making a lot of money on that. But Beach and Park District, you guys have won my support 100%. I appreciate the fact that you've gone through everything after all the failures in previous years because of the city, and you listened to us, and you had survey after survey, and you've got our input, and you have got a plan. And you know what? I may not be 100% supportive of every piece, but it's time to move on. It is time to move on. If you hear nothing else, people, I may not be alive to experience all this. I moved here to golf, and the golf course closed down 6 months after I moved here. And so please do what you need to do. Understand that you are not going to please every person in that audience, but you got our opinions. You went above and beyond to hear what all citizens wanted. And if people didn't take the time to fill it out, well then shame on them. And as we say in Italian, state zit. You had your chance. Now we trust you to do what's right for our community. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dottie. Okay, next up, Jess, unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Jess Tilley. I'm at 5900 Northwest 4th Avenue. So a couple concerns here. I guess, would be for behind our house would be the phase 2. So the question there would be, I'm hearing a lot of there's resistance to golfing, and that is where it looks like you have the long range golf course. What would be put in place there if that was not approved?
Oh. Well, we don't have like a second option for that as of right now. This is our master plan. And yeah. Anything
Okay.
else?
So that's up in the open. Okay, the other thing too, it sounds like you're running into a lot of issues with the city. Is there anything on our end that we can do to help with that? You know, talking, reaching out to the city, emailing, going to meetings. Is there anything on our end we can help with to try and move forward with the golfing options?
Yeah, I mean, going to meetings and showing your support for the plan that we end up with. If you support it, go to city council meetings and tell them that you support it. A lot of people come to our meetings and then they don't go to city council meetings. So city council doesn't hear from the people who voice their opinions to us. So do that. Go to both meetings. They're very time consuming. Go to both meetings.
Okay, perfect. And then just to reiterate again, the concern, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there is an answer, but I do know people fly off of that bridge. And I know just turning out of our development right now on 4th Avenue, it was crazy when the bridge was open. So I can't even imagine with extra parking lots and extra traffic in there. I mean, is there a consideration for maybe like traffic lights or something to help slow down the traffic?
Yeah, I mean, once the master plan is approved, then we'll go ahead and work out, do traffic analysis and things like that with Miller Lake to see where the issues are and how they can be improved along with the city as well. But as of right now, this is a very conceptual master plan. So specific issues in terms of traffic and that have not been addressed as of yet. But once a master plan is, then we go into the specifics of it.
Okay, thank you. And then just want to add, I'm absolutely in support of extra security for the area, whatever that looks like. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is Sister Dale. Unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. It's actually Ronnie Stosh, 5401 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I want to thank you for this presentation and opportunity. I'm also concerned about the traffic flows due to the single lane access on 2nd Avenue and the plans to open and extend Clinmore and Jeffrey Street through to Federal Highway, as well as the increase in traffic from all the different use areas that you're putting up. Right now, there's no place to pull over or get around if someone breaks down, or even more, if someone's waiting to turn into one of the parking lots, you wait and you wait and you wait, and you're putting in more places that's going to back up. Now, I do understand, I realize this hasn't been addressed, and I'm getting the sense that it's not been addressed because the streets belong to the city and you're the Parks Department. Okay, so we just ignoring the issue of what's going to happen with this traffic? And can we get the issue included as part of your master plan or addressed in it? Because it goes in tandem. I mean, if we can't get the traffic flows corrected or in a safe, secure way, like we said, we have school buses, kids crossing the streets, I mean, I don't know. I'm a bit concerned about this and what's being done to address this. And how we can get it included and not totally separate it. The other thing I also wanted to bring forth is I went over to the Ocean Breeze master plan site. And of course, because when I first came in, especially from the web, they had you on mini screens. So your picture was like 1 inch by 2 inches, and I can't see that. So I went over to the site, but of course I can't pull up the plan because the only plan I can pull up is the last plan, which was June 15th, which is completely different than what you're showing here. I realize that the presentation and recording can't be done until after the fact, but is there a reason we can't see the plan that you were speaking about tonight on the site?
Yes, this will be posted this week. It needed to be presented to the public before putting on our website. So now it's been presented to the public and it will be posted on our website this week.
That doesn't help me from what I missed, but I appreciate that. And what about the traffic? What can we do there? Or what do we have to do there? Because that is going to need to be addressed prior to any bills.
Yes, and nothing's being built tomorrow, so we will address the traffic. I go up and down Second Avenue about 5 times a day. So I promise you, we will not forget about addressing Second Avenue traffic. We'll do a full traffic analysis in terms of the design and things like that. It will all be addressed prior to going further and further along in this process. This is a conceptual master plan again, and traffic will be addressed.
I hear what you're saying, and I certainly appreciate what you're saying, but we know about the traffic increases, even though we don't have the concrete final plan yet. Why aren't we at least looking at these issues? Why don't, because it may rule out some of the parts of the plan. If we can, I mean, it needs to be addressed up front and not after the fact. Otherwise, we may be back to square one yet again. And I agree with everybody else. I mean, I feel terrible for these people. I do. I feel terrible that their kids are going to be so old and not be able to use any parts of this. I'm okay. I'm
Thank
done.
you.
Sorry. Thank you
Thank you.
for listening.
Okay, Pearl, can you go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Pearl Barnes. I live at 216 North Country Club Boulevard in Boca Raton, just down the street from where they're planning on building something. My son Colton Barnes is part of the Boca Manta swim team. I have lived in the city since 1992. I was an ocean lifeguard for the city of Boca for over 10 years. A water safety instructor, as well as a age group swim team coach at Meadows Park Pool. We have amazing beaches in Boca Raton and amazing parks. One of the things that we need to concentrate, I feel like, in the future is water safety and swimming, teaching kids how to swim, like I have and many others at Meadows Park Pool have done in the past and the present. However, being part of the Mocha Manta swim team for the first time this year, my son is 11. I've seen where, number one, we are going to swim meets. The pools are much different. They're competition, Olympic-sized pools. They have diving wells. They have electronic scoreboards. We don't have enough lanes for both competitive and recreational swimming. It's crowded. The depth of the pool, like was mentioned before by the coach, Michelle, is not good. We can't even dive off the diving blocks like you would normally do in a swim meet. We don't have enough swimmers to come to our city. If we built something, which I'm hoping they will, I think we would have more people to our city to come to the pools. I want to raise my kid here, and I want him to raise his children here and have that option to have that. Meadows Park Pool is old. We need something newer. And I understand people are talking about the traffic concerns and so forth. However, I believe that our city's growing. More people are moving into our city day by day. This is to be expected. I understand we need to change the roads. We need to expand this. There's going to be more accidents. That's already happening though, because of the growth of our city. Everybody wants to move here. We're in paradise. So I would just want to say, I hope you consider building a facility for swimmers and recreational swimmers alike, competitive too. And other than that, the city is great. And I appreciate for everyone to listen to me today, just to say what I needed to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Pearl. If anybody else online would like to make a comment, press *9 to raise your hand. Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Fernley from 5991 Northwest 4th Avenue. And everybody's talked about the traffic, but I still just want to put in my 2 cents worth. I'm not opposed to anything that's being built outside of my property. But there's just this nagging thing about the city in the back of my head when somebody, the developer, was trying to get property on the southwest side to put luxury townhomes supposedly up against 95. And there was a big to-do about that there wasn't going to be the ability to get access in there. And especially off of Clintmore, because exactly what the people have said to you about the speeding and stuff is truly true. And, we know that there's going to be more traffic and this and that, but I think the whole thing is really how can people get in and out of there safely? And even like for the people on 3rd Terrace, they're concerned about being rear-ended, just trying to make a right into their development. I make lefts all the time out of 4th Avenue to go east, and it hasn't really been a super big problem for me. I have to wait a little, so that's what I have to do. Not as bad as what happens on 2nd Avenue for those poor people that's in the condominiums that sit and sit and sit and sit and wait and wait and wait and wait to come out. But my thing looking at this thing is where that parking thing is. Obviously that is going to bring a lot of traffic out there. So safety truly is what I'm thinking about. It's not that you want to build something there, and it's not that you want to put a parking lot there or something. That's not my thing. My thing is really about the security in relation to that happening. We don't want to see anybody getting, hurt. And it is steeper even now with the changes in the bridge. So just being able to control, that is something that, really does concern me. And I do appreciate how hard this has been and how long it's taken, but somebody else kind of alluded to it, and just the amount of money that the golfers, the 2 golf guys that were designing it in the front, it seems like there's been an awful lot of money that I shouldn't call it a waste, but in a way, it seems like it was wasted, that they got put through all that work and then it never really came to fruition. So, but back to the traffic for a minute, the city wasn't approving it in the first place. So I don't know what is the difference now that it's going to make it appropriate to be able to pull in and out of Clintmore, whether it's going south or whether it's going north, on the west side. So that's all I really want to say. And thank you all very much.
Thank you. If anybody else wants to comment online, press star 9. Okay, not seeing anybody. We will go ahead and close public comment. And we will have a quick moment of silence for the west coast of Florida after the devastation from Hurricane Ian. Okay. So next is the approval of payroll and invoices. Craig?
Sure. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $198,186.65.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes. All right, we'll go ahead and do reports and discussion items. Director Harms will go first.
Sharing microphones, sharing chargers up here. I just wanted to give everybody an update. Chairperson Wright and I met with the Sustainability Advisory Board this past Friday, which went really well, as she talked about earlier. Ocean Strand is progressing well. We lost a couple days last week due to the inclement weather, but I was out there this morning with AmeriCorps and things are moving along and progressing well. So the tree removal may be done, the invasive tree removal, let me just clarify, invasive removal will be done hopefully by the end of next week. And then they'll continue working on the pathways there. The plat, the Sugar Sand Park plat project that CGA has been working on, the CGA district and city staff met together to discuss that plat, and we hope to have a report available to the board by the next meeting so we can discuss that further and talk about available land if the board wanted to move forward with anything there. The Sugar Sand Park roof project is going to go out to bid by the end of next week, so we'll have bids back by November and hopefully start the work on that roof in January pending all the permitting process. And then the update on the Swim and Racket Center, we're doing the court resurfacing. What's on my other side here? So the court resurfacing is going to start the first week in November. It's going to take about 3 weeks to get all those courts resurfaced. And then the retro lighting is going to be completed by January. We are delayed on getting the new lighting poles. Those probably won't be until March. So the project's kind of being rolled out in phases to get it completed. And then I also just want to really thank city staff today who helped us with this meeting and helped us with the audio and the visual, and special thanks to Nikki who came in clutch tonight to fill in for Joanne, and all the staff who worked to cover where she was supposed to be so that she could be here tonight. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Jason and Brian upstairs, for all your help tonight. Really, I want to thank the city staff because they often go above and beyond and they work behind the scenes to make these things happen. So thank you guys very much for all you do. Future agenda items, we have the Sugar Sand Park plat presentation, and then we also are going to have a, we've been discussing some collaboration with the city library system, and I know not all of our district residents get to use the library, but because of there's a city code that prevents that from happening, but we're working on ways that we can still introduce them to library services in the city and promote literacy in our parks, and they have some great ideas. So we'll have a presentation on that at the next meeting. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Brian. Legal.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. The General Counsel's Office does not have anything to report this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, Craig, you want to go first?
Sure. After this lengthy meeting, I was kind of wondering, so what's the next steps on the whole thing? And if I'm prepared to make a motion now on it, but I understand that may, we have to defer to our counsel here. The one thing I've heard clear from everyone is this has taken long enough. Let's move on and let's get going on whatever it is. From my perspective, I am well prepared to approve the conceptual master plan as it is, recognizing that it will change is one point. The second point would authorize our executive director and yourself to talk directly with the city to explore all these things, as well as, start the process for looking at public-private partnerships or whatever the next steps are. But sometime in early the first quarter or shortly after the new city council is elected, that we have agreement with the city conceptually what that might be. And I'm talking about exploring everything. I think it's very important that the city participate in the building and design of it, but we've given them the master plan, we've done the surveying, we've gotten everything we could possibly do. But we do not have title to the west side. So it's going to have to be with participation and working with them. And clearly residents would like this to be decided upon. And I think we've gotten a lot of good pieces in here and it's going to change, but there's enough there that I think we've done our part and we can move forward, but we need conceptual help from the city. And that means exploring every option to expedite things. That's my thought.
So you want to approve this so that we can go ahead to city council to start discussions on next steps, or?
I think it starts with the executive director and the city staff talking through the things that can and cannot work and conceptually getting a better agreement of what other options out there where they could take on pieces of these things or things they will flat out not do. I don't know, but I think we need their support and we need let city staff work with, yourself and Brianne to kind of flush out some more of the ideas on the whole thing. It's going to take some time and it may change, but let's get going on it. I don't think it's fair to anyone to wait. We've talked about the 9-hole golf course. Okay, a golf component. We'll find out right away if that's a valid thing or not a valid thing. The other components I think are important that let's get going on it. I'll tell you what it's not going to be. It's not going to be empty. It's not going to be, wasted 212 acres with nothing on it. And it's not going to be a 27-hole golf course. I know that. That's just reality. And the other reality is that we have traffic, we have city, but you know what? Relatively speaking, there is not the level of traffic there was that other parts of the city are experiencing. So I think it can be managed, but that also is directly controlled by the city. And so the city has a sharp say in the traffic, the infrastructure, and it's time to kind of get them on board to say, hey, we need your help to put this thing to reality. We've done our part with the master plan. And what are they going to come back with? They may say, you know what, we agree with you. Let's take it over and give us something more in the parks area to do. That's fine too. But I think we've done a healthy part of it at this point after several years of redesigning it. And I think now is the time to kind of, get their input and have them, tell us and then flush out some more of the public-private partnerships. That's my thought on it.
Steve?
I almost agree with you on everything. And I think first and foremost, we should authorize both yourself, Madam Chair, and the executive director to start discussions with the city. So we have an idea as to where they stand on issues. I think that we can use this master plan as a basis, but I wouldn't say, well, let's approve it as is, because just as an example, if we do a traffic analysis and we find that we can't keep certain components or we need to move certain components, then we're back to square one and we have to do a whole new, plan. There are other issues also, such as security, noise, that we need the city's input. And so I think as a basis for discussion, what we have, what Miller Lake submitted for presentation tonight is fine. But to accept it as is and approve it, I don't know. I think we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, but definitely discussions should be started with the city so we can at least have some movement.
Conceptually, let's stop dancing around the issue and go ahead, as Craig said. I think we have a good master plan design. It's not perfect. There are things to flesh out. They brought out this evening: traffic, security, noise, lights. All those things I think are important, but there are no way that they can be addressed with a master plan. So you've got to start somewhere. And I think Craig is right. I don't know whether we need to have a motion or we just need to have unanimity that this is what we want to go forward with. Because I think we all are frustrated with the time delay. You know, I wince every time somebody brings up the date that we started this process, because it's been an unbearable ordeal that we've had to go through. You know, the people in the audience are impatient. I think we're all impatient about this, and and I think it's time to put a stake in the ground and say, we like this master plan, whether you want a motion or not. Let's send this to the city council. Let's get their input, massage it, and move forward. But I think that we need to get this golf course. I think Red Reef is an executive golf course. I want something a little bit more than that people can play and we can generate revenue off of. But I'm willing to say I'd like this plan. I think it gives us the components that we need, that the folks have asked for. I think there's opportunities in there for funds, and if Angelo Sands is correct, and we can generate enough money off the golf course to maintain the rest of the park, I'm all for that. You know, and I think that if we can sort out the P3 or some way to lease the projects to those individuals where we can use their capital and our land, it makes a lot of sense for us to do that. But Greg, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but I would certainly support a motion to the degree that we support this master plan and move forward with that.
If I may, I think we're almost saying the same thing differently. I don't have a problem with the golf course, or any of the components. What I think, though, is we need to get, and I have no problem, by the way, sending this plan to city council for their feedback, or to the city manager for his. But I think what we need is to have this thing so that we can get started. I want the city, quite frankly, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this delicately, but either do what they have to do or get off the pot. And, you know, I agree with you, Bob. We've been dancing around this thing for a long, long time. And I'm just as frustrated as you are that I'm hearing, well, you know, we've been doing this for 88 years or whatever it is, and we need to act. I just want to get it so that we're not hamstringing ourselves.
I don't think we're hamstringing ourselves if we just say this is a plan that we presented. We've taken away what the public has told us are some of their concerns. We address those concerns, but I think we can do that while we're submitting this master plan for the city, saying that we've presented this. This is kind of our last hurrah with the master plan, because we've done the surveys, we've had the meetings, the public hearings, and I think it's now the time that we say, we have something now we can work with. This may not be the final, the way it's going to look and ultimately, but I think that we have to start somewhere by getting this to the city, with the opinion that this is what we would like to see and we would want their input, whether or not, I'm not going to make the motion, Craig, but I would support if you could put together, you're the better wordsmith. But let's get something going where we can have unanimity and have a vote on it. And I'll yield, Madam Chair.
Okay,
I'd like
so.
to hear more if Susie, if you.
Thank you, Craig.
Yep.
First of all, I want to thank the Miller Lake team for listening, because when we had a meeting not too long ago, I told them, I said, this isn't going to work for the golf. And you went ahead and you changed things, and it's appreciated. My next comment, Madam Chair, is thank you. You handled public comments with great grace and information. You were not confrontational. You were excellent at handling all these challenges, and I really applaud you. Some of the things that we could be doing, and I agree with Bob and Craig, and ultimately Steve, I think we're on the same page. I'd like to invite you guys, because I can't talk to you privately. Look at the Bobby Jones course in Atlanta. That's a reversible 9. And I've talked to Mike and Lumi about this. It's a very doable course. It's the length that we're looking for. It's a beautiful course. There's also Belmont in Richmond, Virginia, which is, it's funded privately. It's not a municipal course, and neither is Bobby Jones was funded by a 501c3. So there are opportunities out there for us not to spend all the taxpayer money. We can spend it on other things like the trails and the bike paths. This is the first I've heard that, of the need for a swimming facility. So I'd like to, possibly explore that further down the road. But right now, the golfers have been patient and the residents have been patient with us getting a golf facility. There was a golf facility there before. There was a hotel. There was a community center type of thing, and there was traffic. So there will be traffic with the new facility. It will be different than it is right now. But Aaron, I'd like to hear your.
Well, I was just going to say, well, like they showed in the phases, that a lot of the design and the construction, at least the first part of the golf course, can be done at the same time as the trails. Trails are funded by us, and the golf course will be funded by whatever P3 that we can find out there. So the sooner we get going on searching for these P3s that are interested in funding the golf course, the sooner we can get going on that, right? But I think a lot of these things can be done in tandem. But I am super supportive of this master plan when I saw it and the adjustments that were made, and especially the locations of the buildings and a lot of the location of the driving range, I thought was well placed next to 95 away from the homes. I understand the concern of the neighborhood to the north, which I believe is San Remo, I believe. But again, I'm fully confident in Miller Lake and the ability for them to buffer that area and make sure that those homes are not impacted by the lighting or the noise. I'm not sure what we can do about the noise from 95. We can do as much as possible, but I am super excited. I think the number one thing that people asked for were multi-use trails. They definitely gave those to us. 8 miles of trails in the city. I think we're lacking in trails, and I think this is going to give us a spot that is going to be way different than any other place that we have in the city, and even in the surrounding areas. So I am very excited about this master plan. And of course, we will address all the issues that have been brought up tonight in terms of lighting, in terms of safety. Safety is a huge issue. And of course, that is one of the number one things on our list is safety. And traffic is a huge issue as well. And that is something we will absolutely discuss with the city as well, because that is their responsibility is Second Avenue. So we need to work with them on that. So I'm excited for this. We did get some good feedback tonight too. So thank you for that. And thank you for even the negative feedback is something that we can take and discuss further with Miller Lake so that we can develop these things with the city. So did somebody make a motion for us to take
Yeah.
this to like a
I'd be
workshop
happy-
maybe?
No, I'll be short. I'll be brief. But before I do that, I want to mention one thing on the pool part of it is that keep in mind what I like about the pool part is it came organically through the surveys and it came through Miller Lake, and it is a priority. And so, what I've heard over and over is, I want nothing in my backyard, or I want a golf course that, has been there for many years. And this is an opportunity to make something really good and really nice that is a destination. And that is going to require, it's going to bring in people to it. There's no kidding and no joke about that. It is going to have some level of intensity, but it's not going to be high intensity. It's not an apartment building. It's not being crowded in. It's preserving green space. And that's what we said we were going to do. And I really do believe strongly in the pool concept that came through here and is represented by the people here is something that this city needs and it's missing. So one way or another, I hope that will stay in there. But when I make this motion, when I say conceptual, that's flexible. That is totally flexible too. It may not, something's going to give or take. It's going to be a lot of design things, but this is a design. I'm concerned about our time frame, aging of the community, aging of all of us up here. So with that, I'd like to make a motion for us to approve the conceptual master plan that has been presented and authorize the next step of it is to explore closely with the city and possibly public-private partnerships, public-private partnerships, but for our executive director and our chairperson to do so expeditiously.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just want to emphasize what Craig said. This is a conceptual, and these items there are placeholders that we showing us what would fit with the golf component. So it may not look exactly like this when it gets redesigned. So, but conceptually, this is a plan that I think the community supports, and I think that all of us support. And so if there's tweaks along the way, it'll just make it better with input from everyone, and with city council and their advice. And I wish you good luck there, Aaron. And I look forward to getting the results back. And I hope that we can fast track this so we can keep it moving.
Get to the workshop the next one, right? Get as soon as possible. I presented it numerous times now, so I've got it down pat. So we need a roll call vote on that.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Late crowd.
Don't hurt your shoulder.
So Craig has reports and discussions. Anybody reports and discussions? Or you still have more?
No.
No. Steve?
Yeah, just very briefly, I want to thank everybody again for coming out, and I encourage everyone, aside from our regulars who are there all the time and whose presence I really appreciate, all you guys that aren't regulars, please attend our meetings, give us your input. It's so important. As was mentioned up here, I had no idea about the necessity that some people see for pools. So, this opens up our eyes. So help us keep our eyes open. And other than that, that's it.
I knew there was an issue with pools. We were on the Boca Mantis a few years ago. Meadows is is
Tired.
in dire need of either renovation or a new pool. Yes. I don't have anything tonight. Susie, you have anything, Bob? No? Oh. Can't do it. It's not, yeah. We'll talk after the meeting, yes? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, but public comment is closed, so you can't make public comment right now. Yes. Okay, so future agenda. Library presentation and Sugar Sand Park plat presentation will be on our next agenda. So,
Steve.
Oh, I didn't know you were ready. Move to adjourn.
Second.
okay, yes.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes. Okay. We are adjourned.